Hello you. Well, welcome back to the channel. I just picked that up from another YouTuber. I think it sounds fantastic to open the video with. Well, today it is about 37 degrees here in Mallorca. It's probably cooking everywhere else in Europe, I think, at this precise moment. So I'm feeling it for everybody. It's hard enough living in it, it's even harder working in it. So it's hot. So I'm under the tree because the last time I tried to do a little video here in the garden, it was so hot the phone actually shut down. So I'm just getting a bit of shelter under this tree here right now. So anyway, I thought I'd just do a first impressions review of a new tent that I've just got, which is the MSR Elixir 3. So I've bought this tent basically as I've decided to move on my old North Face 3-man, which I use for the campsites and areas where I'm not backpacking. Just to have something a little bit newer. The seam tape and there's some issues with the North Face tent. It's got years of service life in it left, but I've just decided, as a good friend of mine wanted it, I'll let him have it, and I've replaced it with this MSR Elixir 3. So just a few things about the Elixir 3 and why I went for it. I couldn't see many reviews about the tent, to be honest. So it's a 3-man, what they class as a 3-season tent, and unlike the lighter weight tents, it is classed as a backpacking tent, but it's 3 kilos. So there's no way you get me carrying a 3 kilo tent backpacking. MSR claim that you can break the tent up between 3 people and have 1 kilo each, which fair enough, but as you'll probably see in a minute, it would be a squeeze to get 3 people in this MSR Elixir 3. It's a very heavy, durable tent, which in my opinion is more suited for going to a campsite, motorcycle camping, or camping somewhere you're in close proximity to the car, or perhaps somewhere you don't want to take a more expensive, lighter weight tent. Now, interestingly enough, on the MSR website, they have this tent down as 3.20 kilos with everything in the bag. And I've just weighed it, and it's actually 3 kilos on my scale. That's everything in this bag. On the tag here, it says it's 2.66 kilos, which it might be nearer that if you didn't have the included footprint, extra pegs, and the extra paraphernalia that comes with the tent. So I'm going to get it out on the ground, and I'll just show you what comes with a tent and what we've actually got here. So here it is. And what we actually get here is, we've obviously got the stuff sack, which is actually quite large. You can roll the tent up and get it back in there quite easily. And then I'll just unroll it here. So we've obviously got the inner, the outer, the included footprint, which I haven't opened up yet. We'll maybe have a look at that now. Then we have got the 3 pole sections, and this particular tent comes with these sort of like shepherd hook type stakes. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 12 stakes there. That's enough to fully stake out all of the corners of a tent, the vestibules and the guy lines, which is quite surprising actually, because a lot of tents you buy nowadays don't come with enough stakes. And then we've got here the fly sheet, which I'll just grab the camera and I'll show you a little bit closer on that now. So that's your stakes there, another view of them, like a shepherd hook stake. I must admit they must be quite strong, because when I set it up the other day I didn't have them right in, and I actually stood on them by mistake, and they didn't bend, they just pulled out of the ground. So not normally, you know, these types of round profile stakes, if you stand on them you can bend them quite easily, so I'm quite impressed with them. And the poles here, I haven't measured these, to be honest. They seem like they're about a 9mm pole. They're colour coded, so you can put either red in one side or the grey on the other side. It's colour coded on the inner as well, but to be honest it's a little bit pointless because it's symmetrical and you could put them in either way around, so it doesn't really make a big difference. And the fly sheet that I was just going to show you as well comes, you probably see here in the sun, that is all seam taped. So we'll just do a little test on that shortly, just to see how waterproof it is, because I have read some of the reviews which have claimed that these fly sheets have leaked. So there we go guys, that's a little review of what you actually get in the bag. Now just to talk about specs for a second, the materials used on the MSR Elixir are a lot heavier in comparison to the likes of the Hubba Hubba or the MSR Access series. This is why the tent in general is a much heavier, more bulky tent to carry and to pack down. So it's got a 68D polyester fly sheet which has got a hydrostatic head of 1500mm. It's got 40D inner fabric with 20D mesh, and it's got an amazing 70D floor nylon which has got a hydrostatic head of 3000mm. So the specs on the tent are really good. It seems very durable, but obviously like everything it comes with a compromise, because there is the fact that it doesn't pack down so small and you've got the extra weight. I'm going to crack on now and get it set up and let you have a quick look at it. So there's the footprint laid out. It's one of these typical grey MSR footprints, which is somewhat of a universal fit with the MSR aluminium lugs on the corner and the short sections of guy to pin it down. I'll give you a quick look at that now. So there we have it, that's the footprint. But to be honest, with a 70D floor, I'm not really sure why you would need a footprint with it. And that's the securing points there, which you can peg down, or what I might try is to actually fasten that to the underside of the tent so the whole lot can be packed up together. As I said, I imagine the footprint can be utilised to be used without the inner tent and just with the fly sheet. So that's probably why MSR have included this in the package, which is very nice, because a lot of the tents you actually have to splash out and buy the footprint in addition. Let's crack on and get the inner set up. So that's the inner pegged out now. I now just need to insert the poles and erect the inner tent. You don't really need to peg out the inner because it's a fully freestanding tent. However, I just wanted to see how the pegging situation was with the footprint in place. So these are the poles which just seem to slot together once you undo them. They've got a very nice hub there in the middle, which is, it's really just a hub to join the poles. It's not that the poles actually connect through that hub, using it for any tension like on the MSR Hubba Hubba series. So there's my poles there now. You just have to go into the ends like so. As you insert the poles into the little aluminium loops, they naturally cross over to form the shape that the tent's going to be once it's put up. So there we go, that's the poles in, and then it's just really a case of clipping the inner to the poles, which again, it's exactly the same design as the Hubba Hubba and the MSR Access 1 as well, for that matter. And of course, if you want to, you can actually just set the inner up if you don't want to have the fly sheet on as well. I haven't actually fathomed out whether that one's meant to go there yet or on the next clip down. But the poles are quite flexible actually, and once you've got that to that there position, you've got this one single cross pole which goes into the end of this little aluminium loop. They're all the same, these aluminium loops. I think MSR designed one loop and said they could use it for literally everything. There we go. And that's it set up. So if this wasn't actually pegged down at the minute, which it doesn't have to be, you could actually pick the whole tent up and move it round wherever you wanted. I will just give you a quick look around the inner tent before we put the fly sheet on. So there we have the inner tent all set up. I'll give you a little look at the end here. You can see there, that's just got that clip on there. It's nice and taut. This 20D mesh, if there's anybody watching that's got a Hubba series or an Access 1 series MSR, there is a notable difference in the density of this this 20D mesh compared to the 10D. It feels obviously heavier, it feels much stronger. It's basically, it's not something that you'd worry about having to be so careful not to click it or anything like that. It just feels much more substantial, as does the 20D interior nylon there as well, which is a white ripstop. So as you can probably see, we've got the mesh end there with the tag still in it. Oh, I've missed a couple of clips here. I'll just show you how these clips go on dead easily. Try and do it with one hand. So look, that just clips on there, and I missed another one there. Just clips on there. So you could actually probably clip them on even if you had gloves on. So that's it there. And what I really like about it is it's symmetrical. So if you've got OCD and you have problems with tents that have higher poles at one end and lower at the other, and you don't know which end to put in the wind, this is completely symmetrical all the way around. So you're not going to have the OCD problem, where to point it, which way it should face, etc, etc. So let's crack on and get the fly sheet fitted. I've gone for the green, the MSR green. I think it's a fantastic covert camping colour. I think it's a great colour, even for being on the campsite. I wouldn't want white and burgundy. That's not my thing. If you like it, that's great, but it's not for me. I just love this MSR Euro green. So let's get the fly sheet on and take a look at this. So the fly is very similar to the end arrangements, whereby you just have to put these loops underneath the poles, which actually protrude out from the grommet slightly. So you just need to find out where your end is. There we go. And that other metal ring, you can probably see, just loops through the end of that grommet, which is really nice because it stops the fly sheet moving across the arch pole. Some tents I've had haven't got this securing system and the fly sheet just goes over. I don't like it. I like to know my fly sheet is properly fitted there. And as you can see, we just need to then pull down the fly at both sides. One option may be, actually, if you want to have a bit of wind, you could have half the fly off and keep it on in case it rained. So that would obviously be another option there. Yeah, so once you get to this stage, you just hook your end grommets around the pole, one at a time. You've got to actually work out whether you want the little tab to go on the end side of the tent or the side of the tent. Let me show you. I've had this debate with every single MSR tent I've ever had. It's this grommet where it goes under the pole here. So it's like, do you have it there, which means the cord is on this side of the pole, or do you take that off and have it on that side, which means the cord is pulling on that side? I'm not sure there's anything in the MSR information about that. I guess you've just got to put it where you feel happy with it and how the fly sheet's tensioned. So once you get to this stage, it's just a case of just going around and pulling down on these red tabs to get the fly sheet equally tensioned all the way around. And then after that, you need 4 pegs to peg out the vestibule. So you've got one there, and you've got one here. It's got a 3-section door, this. There we go. So you can get your pegs in nice, and then obviously pull down on your tabs there to add a little bit of tension. Obviously I haven't got the back tensioned yet, which I'll do now. And then once you've got your vestibules tensioned, it's probably just a case of just going around these corner points just to give them a little bit of tension. And that, guys, seems to be it. I think it's time for a little walk around. So there she is, all set up and all pegged out by the guy lines. And I must admit, for a tent that I will use for possibly motorcycle camping or taking my daughter to the campground or somewhere in close proximity to the car, I'm actually quite happy with that. I've just been reading up on the polyester fabric. Apparently it's much less prone to stretch when it's wet. It's more stable in UV light, and apparently it's less prone to creasing, but I'm not sure that applies to this one. There are a few creases in it, but to be honest, they don't bother me. So there's little vents on the end of the tent here, which I will just show you. They've got a little stay inside them, and I'm quite happy to say that once those vents are out, the inner is not touching the outer, which was one of the gripes I had with my MSR Access 1 2021 model I got, was when you opened these vents, the inner was pressing on the outer, and I wasn't too happy about that. So that's the vents open there. I'll give you a quick look now at the access arrangements. So the doorway, as I mentioned earlier, is a 3-piece door secured in 2 points, and the access is via this side. So that's something that you might want to think about if you're pitching the tent in windy, adverse weather conditions. So the door simply rolls back, and it's got a little toggle in that position to open the door to position 1. I'm going to get on to, in a second, my only gripe with this tent. If you then want to open to position 2, it's just a case of letting off that little piece of webbing there. Go to position 2. And that's it. That's the door open, which gets me on to my only gripe with this tent. Why did MSR not put another toggle there so you could have the door fully open? It would have been like 10 pence more to just put another toggle there. I have no idea why they didn't do that, because if you're camping in the summer, whether it be the UK or Europe or wherever, one thing you want is airflow and ventilation. And to have that stuck there, for me, is just not a good idea. They should have put another toggle on the other side. So I'll show you now what the problem is. So if we go now to secure this door back, you see it will be fantastic to have this there and have it fully open, but there's nowhere to tie the door back. So I might end up putting something on it, or utilizing a clothes peg or a clamp or something just to hold the door back. It's a bit of a shame they didn't think about that, to be honest. I suppose one thing you could do would be to fasten the door up here on this guy out point at the top here. Right there. That would do it. Looks like a little bit of a dog's dinner, but it's something you could actually do to keep the doors back. So let's have a look inside the MSR Elixir 3. It's got this one-piece zip. I do like one-piece zip doors. I don't like having to go that way and that way. And the door opens same manner as a lot of these MSR tents. You just roll the door back and put your toggle in, and that's the door open. And obviously everything I've shown you here on this side of the tent is mirrored on the other side, so the door on that side opens in exactly the same manner. So it's shoes off time. I'm inside the tent now, and whoa, it is hot in here. I'll tell you, the temperatures we've got today, I am absolutely cooking. I think I'm gonna have to go and have a cold shower after doing this review. So yeah, it's I think it's about 178 wide, this tent. So they call it a 3-man, but that would be 3 normal size pads, and guys like me don't use normal size pads. I very much doubt my wife would want to use a normal size pad. So if you had 2 65-inch pads in here, I very much doubt you are going to get 3 people in. For me, it's probably more of a comfortable 2-person tent opposed to a 3-person tent for motorcycle camping, car camping, going to a campsite. I don't think it would be comfortable with 3 people in this tent. In fact, there will be occasions I will just use this tent all by myself and have a lot of room inside of it. So I'll just see if I can show you now. Oh, I've got grass in it already. Oh, that's head at the top there, and I've got about 3 or 4 inches above my head and about 6 inches at my feet. And let's just do the snow angel test. Yep, you can virtually do a snow angel in here, so that's good. And oh, that's a lovely bit of breeze coming in there now. I'll tell you one thing about this tent, it's like a cavern inside. Let me see if I can just show you this. Look, I'm just going to put the camera there at that end. I am starting to drip now. Right, whoop. Stay still, camera. There we go. I mean, all the room this has got in here, it's because of the pole structure that these ends like completely bellow out on the end of the tent there. So there is just so much room. Look, you can imagine if I'm here and the missus is over there, if she ever decides to come camping with me, that is, you know, you've got room to actually get up in here. Let me just move the camera up a little bit and show you. You've got these little pockets here to put your bits and bobs in. There's full pockets on the ends there, and you've actually got room to get right in here and move around and get changed, and there's plenty of space, which is really what you want with a 3-man tent, even if you're only using it for 2 people. So yeah, full marks for the space. As I say, up to now, my only gripe with this tent is the fact that you can't pin that door back and have that view there out of the door. It's that for me is a little bit of a letdown. I mean, it's not a cheap tent, this, it's not mega expensive, but for the sake of 2 more little clips there, that is a little bit of a letdown. So let's get on and check it out and see if it's waterproof. So I'm now back in the tent. I've got the whole garden irrigation system going. So this is going to be going now for about 20 minutes. And let's see how we get on. I'll just show you what the roof looks like with the first pass of water that's gone over the top of it. So you can probably see there, looking out, the water is really beading off the roof quite nicely. It certainly looks like a waterproof material. There's a big run there just going past. Yeah, there was a lot of comments on the MSR website about whether or not these tents are waterproof. People had bought them and found out they were leaking. But I'll be honest, I phoned Elite Mountain Supplies in the UK prior to purchasing this in Europe, because obviously now with the Brexit they couldn't send it down here, and they said they hadn't had any problems with them. So as I showed you before, they're all seams or seam sealed, so there shouldn't be really any reason why it would leak, to be honest. But let's wait it out and do the test. And while I'm in here, I'll just show you how nicely the tent's made. All the seams are very good. You've got little attachment points here if you wanted to hang up a washing line or make a gear loft to go up there, but to be honest there's not very much point because there's already little mesh pockets up there. But yeah, very nicely made. You know, all seams are good. There's no thread hanging out of it anywhere. All very nicely put together. And I think this is another good MSR design feature as well there. On this outside of this seam here, there is a gutter where the water runs down. So I think that's another good little feature. You can probably see there the water coming down and just running down the edge of that gutter. I've noticed there's no seam sealing over this zip actually, but I guess if that zip did leak a little bit, it's just going to leak down into the vestibule, so it's probably not as important as having the other seams with the sealing tape on them. So I'm back out after about another 10 minutes after getting air conditioned in the house. Oh, it's got sprayed. And as you can see, we've got all the sprinklers on the tent here, and the water is just beading off the fly. So as far as I'm concerned, it seems to be working really well. And as for that zip where it's not seam sealed, you know, You could, if you wanted, run a bit of seam seal down that on the inside. That's not a big problem. Well guys, that's my preliminary review of the MSR Elixir 3-man tent. As I've said, it's made of much more durable materials than the likes of the Hubba Hubba and the Access One, and obviously the Freelite and the MSR Carbon, which are even lighter again. I don't believe it's a tent for backpacking, although it's advertised as a backpacking tent. That's just my opinion, as I wouldn't want to be carrying 3 kilos. For me, it's a great tent for motorcycle camping, car camping, or locations where you're in close proximity to the car. I'm really pleased with the purchase up to now, having done this short review, set it up a couple of times in the garden. So I'm now looking forward to getting it out in the field, giving it some proper tests. And once we get some real adverse weather conditions, I'll probably set it up here again, as I did with my Hubba, and see how it copes in the wind. Guys, thanks for watching. Really appreciate the support on the channel. If you like the videos, don't forget to click and subscribe. Take care.